Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Nurhidayanti. Today I'm going to tell you about knowing of the short story, A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. Keep on watching. The first is characters. The grandmother, the misfit, Bailey's wife or the mother, John Wesley, June Star, Red Sambat's wife, Bobby Lee, Hiram or minor character. The second is analyzing plot orientation. In A Good Man is Hard to Find, the grandmother and the misfit are both recipients of grace, despite their many flaws, sins, and weakness. In other words, God has the power to allow even bad people to go to heaven, which He does by granting them grace. The grandmother is an unlucky candidate for receiving grace. Rising action. Rising action includes the family road trip to Florida with the grandmother reading in the black seat. In between her two grandchildren, they stop at a barbecue stand. Bailey's decision to listen to his mother by turning down a dirt road and their car, incident which leaves them started on the side of the road. Climax. The grandmother's moment of grace is definitely the climax of the story. It seems as though the grandmother triumphs in the end, since she miraculously remained following action. Now, after the death of the family, we see Misfit and the two other criminals come back together after disposing of the bodies. The third is conflict. This story, A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor, is an external conflict between the grandmother and a society which he hardly judges other way to view conflict is in terms of plot. Conflict is in terms of plot development. The fourth is setting. The story takes place on and around back country roads in the South. The family lives in Atlanta and is traveling through Georgia on their way to Florida. After lunch, the family takes a detour down a dirt road to find a plantation with a secret trap door. The grandmother had described it. The fifth is theme. The theme in A Good Man is Hard to Find are finding grace, prejudice, and family. Finding grace, extraordinary circumstances allow a selfish characters, like the grandmother, to thoroughly understand the meaning of grace. The sixth is plot summary. The story opens on a family about to take a road trip. The grandmother, who wants to convince her family to travel not to Florida but to Tennessee, shows a newspaper article to her son, Bailey, and Bailey's wife. The article is about a convict known as the Misfit, who has escaped federal prison and is believed to be headed toward Florida. The grandmother says that she would never take her children near such a dangerous criminal and that she clouded answer to her conscience if she did. Bailey and his wife ignored the grandmother. Bailey and his wife ignored the grandmother, and Bailey's children, John Starr and John Wesley, mocked her. The next morning, the grandmother is picked and ready to leave, sitting in the car before anyone else, unlike the rest of the family. She is dressed up wearing a fancy hat. They leave headed south for Florida. In the car, the children fight and to keep them quiet. The grandmother tells them a story about a sweater she had when she was younger. The family stops at the tower, a filling station, and dance hall run by red semi-bats. The grandmothers make conversation with Red Sammy about how society has gotten worse over the years. They say that it's impossible to trust anyone anymore, and Red Sammy notes that a good man is hard to find. After the family drive off from the tower, the grandmothers tell the family of a plantation nearby that she had visited once when she was younger. Knowing that Bailey will not want to visit, the grandmother's lies, saying there was a secret panel in the wall somewhere with silver behind it. After the Kynes threw a tantrum about wanting to see the house, Bailey agrees and drives down a deserted dirt road looking for the house. Just as Bailey is ready to turn around, the grandmother realizes that the house she is remembering is actually hundreds of miles away. In other states, she is so distressed by this truth that she accidentally lets her cat, which she had snatched into the car out, and it jumped into Bailey. Bailey swerves and the car crashes. Its car rolls over and rises again upright in a gulch of the side of a road other. Here's like car approaches. Three men get out, each of them carrying a gun. One of the men inspects the family's cars to see how easy it would be to fix. As Bailey attempts to explain their situation, the grandmother interrupts, saying to one of the three men, "You're the misfit." The man admits that he is the misfit, but says that it would have been better if she had not recognized him. The misfit instructs his two henchmen, Hiram and Bobby Lee, to take Bailey and John Wesley over to the woods. Two pistol shots are heard. The misfit has a lengthy conversation with the grandmother about his past, his time in prison, and his nihilistic outlook on the world. Meanwhile, the rest of the grandmother's family is taken to the forest and shot. The misfit continues speaking with the grandmother, and she repeatedly insists that he must be a good person at heart and would never shoot an old lady. Suddenly, she says to him, "Why, you are one of my babies. "You're one of my down children," and then reaches out and touches him on the shoulder. The misfit jumps back at her touch and shoots her in the crest 3 times. The henchman returned from the woods, and the misfit picked up the grandmother's cat. Speaking of the grandmothers, the misfit says she would have been a good woman if it had been somebody there to shoot her every minute of her life. And the last is the moral message of the story is demonstrate the human compassion and grace transformation of the two characters, hope, which are embodied by the grandmothers and the misfit, are used to get across the story message. I think that's all about the story. Thank you for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.